You ever get that weird sixth sense? The one that whispers, "Hey, something's off." Not like ghosts or winning lottery numbers. Just a sudden stillness. The kind you feel when you enter a room mid-laugh and everyone clams up, or when your group chat suddenly goes dead, but your cousin's Instagram says otherwise. That was me. Thursday night. Alone. Sitting cross-legged on my worn couch, chewing leftover stir-fry that had the same energy as a bad date, bland, lukewarm, and full of regret. Shark Tank blared in the background, some guy begging for $500,000 for glow-in-the-dark shoehorns, and I was doing what I usually do when I feel off, scroll aimlessly. Then I saw it. Riley's story. A boomerang. A glossy brochure for a tropical resort, held next to her passport. The caption? "Can't wait to tan with the fam. Hashtag vacay mode, hashtag family first." I blinked. Tapped back. Forward. Stared at it again like I was reading ancient prophecy. Then checked the comments. There it was. My sister, Brooke. Yes, finally! Whole vibe, hashtag fam getaway. Fam, getaway. Entire family vacation. Without me. My stomach dropped like a misfired drone. I opened the main family group chat, Carter Clan, the same one they used to share minion memes and passive-aggressively ask who was bringing deviled eggs this year. Last message? Dad sharing an article called 10 Signs You're Addicted to Coffee. Followed by Brooke going, "LMAO stop," Dad face with tears of joy. No trip announcement. No. Mid-July plans? Not even a fake. Hope you can join. Just nothing. I sat there, staring into the microwave's soft judgmental glow, and for some reason, my first reaction was to text Brooke. Even after everything. Even after birthdays half forgotten and holidays skipped because flights were just too expensive this year. For me, not for them. Me. Hey, just saw Riley's story. Is the family planning a trip? Read immediately. 3 dots. Pause. Disappear. Reappear. Then. Brooke. Oh, yeah? It kinda came together last minute. Figured you'd be slammed with work. Or like, you just complain about the cost again, lol. LOL. The kind of LOL that makes you want to hurl your phone into a volcano. Then came the cherry on the betrayal Sunday. Brooke. Didn't mean to exclude you. Just figured it wasn't your thing. Wasn't my thing? Newsflash. I like vacations. I like resorts. I like tan lines and poolside fruit drinks and not being treated like the forgotten DVD commentary of this family. What I don't like is acting like $1,200 a night for a cabin without Wi-Fi is reasonable. I made one comment. One. On one trip. 2 years ago. They'd held on to it like it was gospel. I didn't respond. Just stared at the chat, and then, something snapped. Not the angry, throw a chair kind of snap. The silent kind. The one where you realize no one even bothered to pretend you were invited. That this wasn't some scheduling error. This was a deliberate erasure. Fine. I opened a new tab. Googled the resort from Riley's tag, Solmare Bay Resort and Spa. Clicked the link. Infinity pools. Spa packages. $18 cocktails garnished with gold leaf and bad decisions. Same week. Same hotel. I booked it. Under a slightly different name, J. Carter. Just enough to not raise suspicion. Not that they'd care to check. I wasn't just going on vacation. I was writing myself back into the story. They thought I'd stay home. Watch from the sidelines. Maybe even offer to water their plants. Nah. This time, I'd be there. Right there. Smiling in the background of their perfect Instagram photos. Let's see if they still think I complain about costs. But I'm sipping the same overpriced piña colada they are. There's a strange, almost divine satisfaction in booking a vacation purely out of spite. I sat cross-legged in bed, munching stale carrot sticks, wrapped in a hoodie that smelled like 3-day-old ambition, scrolling through booking options like a man possessed. The resort Riley had tagged? Solmare Bay Resort and Spa. Just the name sounded like somewhere you'd go to spiritually realign your chakras and take photos in linen outfits you'd never wear again. The place looked like a screensaver, infinity pools, hammocks under palm trees, and a spa that advertised something called a cranial eucalyptus rebalancing. No clue what that was. Probably just someone tapping your forehead with oils while whispering, "Namaste." But I was in. I wasn't just going to show up. I was going to arrive. I selected the beachfront deluxe room. Not the standard garden view with partial ocean peak. No, sir. I wanted to hear the ocean whisper my name in passive-aggressive waves every morning. Dates? July 11th through July 18th. Just like theirs. The reservation? Under. J. Carter. Close enough to be me. Far enough to avoid immediate detection. As I hit confirm booking, my credit card made a dying wail sound. But I patted it gently, whispering, "This is emotional reparations. Therapy, but tropical." In the days leading up to my grand debut, I went full secret agent. Cleared my calendar. Told my manager I was finally taking that time for myself. He actually clapped, weird, and ghosted the group chat like a magician in a puff of beach-scented smoke. I didn't tell a single soul. Not even Kyle from 3B, who waters my plants and once texted me when I coughed weird. I was off the grid. I ordered one gaudy button-up shirt covered in parrots and pineapples, packed sunglasses big enough to block emotional baggage, and flew out like a man on a mission, with 2 layovers, an overcooked airport pretzel, and 0 sleep. When I finally stepped out of the resort shuttle, the humidity slapped me like it knew I had family beef. Solmare Bay was even more surreal in person. The air smelled like overpriced mango lotion and someone else's alimony. A steel drum band played softly near the lobby. Palm trees swayed like they were judging everyone's Instagram captions. The receptionist greeted me with a syrupy smile. "Welcome to Solmare Bay, Mr. Carter. Would you like a complimentary guava spritzer?" I accepted it like a royal decree. "I would, yes. Extra spritz." I casually glanced around, and nearly choked on my complimentary beverage. There they were. Brooke, Mom, Dad, Riley. All clustered near the other check-in desk like a sitcom cast preparing to enter season 10 of Bad Decisions. Brooke wore a t-shirt that said "Tropic like it's hot," holding her phone high as if she was scouting for influencers to impress. Dad looked like a man realizing how fast buffet cocktails drain a retirement fund. Mom had her usual, "I'm having fun but also everything is slightly disappointing" expression. I instinctively ducked behind a potted plant shaped like a tropical snowman. They hadn't seen me yet. "Enjoy your stay, Mr. Carter," the receptionist said, handing me a towel, a room key, and a look that clearly said, "I will absolutely keep your secrets if you keep tipping." I headed for the elevator like I was James Bond with anxiety issues. My suite? Absolutely stunning. White sheets folded tighter than my family's emotional availability. Fluffy towels shaped into swans. A minibar daring me to spend $14 on gummy bears just to feel alive. I dropped my bag and stepped onto the balcony. There they were, poolside already, holding mojitos and pretending this was some wholesome family bonding moment. The sting hit, deep and sharp. Watching your family laugh without you hits different when you're physically close enough to hear the punchlines. But then, Brooke tripped on a stray flip-flop and almost face-planted into a mojito. I smiled, sipped my spritzer, and whispered to no one, "Game on." The next morning, paradise greeted me with the soothing sound of birds chirping, ocean waves crashing, and Brooke yelling at a bellhop about pillow options. It was 8:17 a.m. I stood barefoot on my balcony, sipping hotel coffee strong enough to dissolve guilt, and watched her gesture wildly like a B-list celebrity caught without a filter. The poor bellhop looked like he'd aged 3 years just trying to explain that yes, the room came with standard pillows, and no, the aura of disappointment wasn't part of the service. Welcome to Solmare Bay, the family drama live experience. But I wasn't here for theatrics. Not yet. This wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense, no big confrontation, no screaming matches. This was about presence. Showing up. Taking up space where they assumed I wouldn't exist. So I followed the plan. Step 1: subtlety. No fake mustache or trenchcoat nonsense. This wasn't a Netflix thriller. Just sunglasses big enough to shield me from generational trauma, a floppy hat that said, "I do yoga," ironically, and a tropical button-down shirt so aggressively patterned it could be seen from space. Step 2. Coincidence. I didn't stalk them, I happened to be everywhere. Behind them in the omelet line, perusing the same overpriced gift shop trinkets, floating suspiciously close to their snorkeling group while trying paddle boarding for the first time. They'd move? I'd appear 5 minutes later. Brooke looked over her shoulder multiple times. Her brows furrowed like she was trying to remember if she'd watched a true crime documentary with a guy who looked like me. At one point, I stood directly behind Dad at breakfast while he debated scrambled versus poached. He never even noticed. Either his awareness was garbage or he trained himself not to register my existence, which honestly wouldn't shock me. And yeah, it stung. Watching them sip fruity drinks poolside, laughing over nachos, taking group selfies and matching neon flip-flops. Each moment felt like a new entry in a family album I'd been deliberately edited out of. But here's the thing, I wasn't here to make memories. I was here to haunt theirs. Later that afternoon, I hit the beach bar. Ordered the Solar Slammer, a bright orange cocktail served with an umbrella, a pineapple slice, and enough sugar to kill a horse. I took a seat just as Brooke sauntered in like she owned the breeze. She lounged on a daybed in full diva mode, oversized sunglasses, cocktail in hand, posing like she was about to launch a swimsuit brand called Subtle Toxicity. She didn't see me, not right away. But when I laughed at something the bartender said, she froze mid-sip. Her neck twitched, just slightly. Then she turned. Her face didn't betray panic, but her lips tightened in that way she does when she realizes someone has outplayed her. I didn't stare. I stood. Sipped my drink. Walked away. Like a ghost with receipts. Back at my room, I opened the resort activity catalog, and smiled. Brooke's room tier? Standard all-inclusive. The kind that gets you buffet access, unlimited soda, and a wristband that made you look like a medical experiment. My tier? Premier Ultra Deluxo Supreme Baby. It included spa treatments, early booking for excursions, and a minibar that refilled like magic. I even got a welcome basket shaped like a swan filled with fruit I couldn't identify. I spent the next hour signing up for everything: snorkeling, ziplining, a rum tasting hosted by a man named Fabio who claimed to be a liquid therapist. I reserved a private sunset dinner for one, complete with pier seating and a violinist trained in Coldplay covers. And I made sure to float by the family's table that night holding my reservation like a Grammy Award. Brooke's eyes narrowed. She whispered something to Mom. Then stood up. I didn't wait for her to speak. Didn't even glance back. Because I wasn't playing anymore. I was performing. And she? She didn't even have a ticket. Day 3. Breakfast at the Coral Café. The open-air restaurant with pastel umbrellas, too many birds, and a suspicious devotion to egg variety. This morning, I didn't sneak around like a petty ninja. No sunglasses. No floppy hat. This time, I wanted to be seen. I entered the cafe like a man who knew exactly which wound he was about to poke. Crisp white linen shirt. Gold aviators. Smile set to. Politely weaponized. I scanned the tables, and there they were. Mom. Dad. Brooke. In their usual formation, Mom sipping lukewarm coffee with tight lip tension, Dad hiding behind his phone pretending to read the Wall Street Journal, and Brooke stirring an espresso with the urgency of someone trying to mix away guilt. I grabbed a plate. Waffles, pineapple slices, and a smoothie that looked more expensive than my high school education. Then I walked past their table. Not hurried. Not hesitant. Like I belonged here, because I did. Brooke was mid-sip when she spotted me. She froze. Her sunglasses slipped slightly, revealing eyes that widened with a mix of shock, panic, and oh no, he's real. A piece of granola dropped off her spoon. Morning, I said casually, voice smooth as the waffle butter melting on my plate. Didn't expect to see anyone I shared DNA with. Mom gasped, barely audible, like she'd seen a ghost but didn't want to make a fuss. Dad's head snapped up like someone had just yelled. Retirement fraud. I walked to a table 2 spots down. Not next to them, just near enough that they'd have to whisper. I sat. Ate my waffles. Took small, measured bites like this was a cooking show and I was judging the presentation of karma. Brooke couldn't take it. She pushed her chair back, stomped toward my table, and stood there like a hurricane dressed in resort wear. "What are you doing here?" she asked, eyes narrowing. I took a long sip of my smoothie. "Vacationing," I said, glancing at the ocean view. "You?" she bristled. "You followed us." I tilted my head. "You posted the itinerary online." She ignored that. "This is just weird." "No, what's weird," I said slowly, "is secretly planning a family vacation, excluding one person, and then acting shocked when they show up." Brooke crossed her arms, glancing back at our parents. They pretended to be very, very invested in their eggs. "You didn't say anything in the chat." "What chat?" I asked flatly. "The one I wasn't in?" Brooke opened her mouth, then shut it. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," she said finally. "But you weren't going to tell me, were you?" I said, my voice quiet now. "You were going to post photos and hope I just never noticed." She didn't respond. So I did what petty, wounded people do best. I escalated the weirdness. The resort photographer walked by. "Complimentary social media portraits today," he said cheerfully. "Great for memories." I stood. Looked Brooke dead in the eye. "Let's take one." "What?" "Let's immortalize this moment." Brooke blinked. Twice. Then, possibly out of pure social panic, she nodded. We stood shoulder to shoulder. I smiled with all 32 teeth. She stared into the camera like she'd just lost the family fortune in crypto. "Perfect," the photographer said. I turned to him. "Can I buy that one right now?" "Of course, sir." 10 minutes later, I had a framed photo in a cheesy faux wooden frame that said "Family First." I clutched it like an Oscar. Brooke slunk back to her table, muttering something about "unbelievable." Mom watched me the entire time like she'd never seen me before, and maybe she hadn't. Not this version. Not the one who didn't ask for a seat at the table, but brought his own plate and made waffles into a power move. I finished breakfast. Slowly. Left a generous tip. As I stood to leave, I caught Mom's eye. She flinched. Not because I looked angry, but because, for the first time, I looked like I truly didn't need them. Day 4. This was the day I stopped pretending I wasn't enjoying myself. I'd spent the first half of this vacation floating somewhere between wounded dignity and stealth mode revenge. But that morning, as the sun blazed over Solmer Bay and the gulls screamed like unpaid interns, I made a decision. It was time to go full petty. First up, the jet ski safari. Premium guests only. High speed. High drama. High likelihood of salt water in my sinuses. I arrived at the beach shack early, clad in a blue rash guard and mirrored shades that screamed, "I absolutely have unresolved family trauma." The instructor greeted me with a waiver and a knowing smile, like he could sense the pettiness radiating off me like coconut oil on hot pavement. And then, right on cue, came the family. Brooke spotted me first, mid-stride in her blessed but stressed tank top and those ridiculous jelly sandals that squeak like betrayal. She slowed down, squinting. I revved the jet ski, lifted a hand, and gave her the most dramatic wave of my life. Then I took off. The water exploded behind me in a cinematic arc of justice. I sliced through the ocean like a man baptized in spite. The guide shouted instructions. I pretended not to hear him. I was too busy chasing inner peace, at 40 miles per hour. When I returned, windblown and triumphant, Brooke was waiting by the towel stand, arms crossed so tight her Fitbit probably registered it as cardio. I flashed her a smile. "Sun's out, therapy bills up." Then casually tipped the beach attendant and whispered, "If she asks, tell her I got upgraded for emotional resilience." Next on the itinerary, snorkeling. Also a premium activity. Also very public. The boat was decked out with complimentary drinks, laminated fish guides, and a DJ who played Bob Marley remixes like his life depended on it. I boarded with a mimosa in one hand, sunscreen in the other, and a grin wide enough to make a lifeguard suspicious. As the boat pulled away from the dock, I turned. There they were again, Brooke, Mom, and Dad, sitting on those sad little loungers near the beach grill, watching me like I was the halftime show they never bought tickets for. I raised my glass. Brooke didn't wave back. That evening came the showstopper. The private pier dinner. You know the one: string lights, white linens, violinist awkwardly playing Coldplay. Instagram catnip. I had already done it once, but this time, I requested a twist. Candles. Custom place setting. Menu upgrade with extra dessert. A literal champagne bucket beside the table like I was celebrating a breakup with mediocrity. As I walked down the pier, I passed the family again. They were seated at the buffet patio this time, eating what looked like aggressively overcooked shrimp under a flickering lamp. Brooke's jaw clenched. Mom whispered something to Dad. Dad nodded like he wished he were invisible. And me? I sat down, raised my glass to no one, and took a sip of sparkling wine while the violinist transitioned into Viva la Vida. Later that night, the Instagram games began. Brooke posted a photo of the pier, cleverly cropped. You could just barely see my table in the corner, a blurry silhouette framed in gold light. The caption: Dreamy night with fam, red heart, hashtag blessed de bear. I reposted it. Zoomed in. Captioned: Weird how I wasn't invited but still made the frame. Hashtag funny how that works. Then I opened the family group chat. The one they finally re-added me to. And sent the photo from breakfast. The one with me and Brooke side by side, smiling like two sitcom characters forced to do a toothpaste commercial. Silence. Then, Dad, this is getting childish. Can we just have a peaceful trip? Mom, sweetheart, I don't understand why you're doing this. Brooke, you're stalking us. Seriously. Grow up. Me. I just came here for the waffles. Cue another pause. Then the real MVP of this whole saga chimed in. Riley. Honestly, this is the best subplot of the whole vacation. Don't stop. I knew I liked her. The next morning, I had cocktails sent to the family's cabana. Each one came with a decorative pineapple slice, a rainbow straw, and a little note. No hard feelings. Just hard truths. Hope the piña passive-aggressive goes down smooth. Brooke looked like someone had just insulted her skincare routine. Mom gasped. Dad drank his entire cocktail in one gulp. Me? I lounged in the lazy river, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a satisfied smirk. Because here's the secret no one tells you. Petty done right? It's not chaos. It's art. I didn't plan for the meltdown to happen at the pool. But fate loves drama and chlorinated settings. It started innocently. A rogue pool noodle. A shrieking kid named Zeke cannonballing too close to someone's margarita. And Brooke, perched on her lounger like a monarch on vacation, scrolling her phone with the disdain of someone allergic to joy. I was 2 chairs down, pretending to read a self-help book I picked for the cover. My sunglasses were reflective enough to double as petty periscopes. I sipped something coconut-based I hadn't even ordered, resort magic. Then it began. Brooke stood abruptly, sunglasses perched like a crown of war. Okay, you seriously need to stop. She snapped loud enough that even the lifeguard lowered his whistle. I tilted my head. Stop lounging? Stop turning everything into a statement. The dinners. The activities. The photos. You're everywhere, and it's making everything tense. I set down the fake book. Brooke, I booked a vacation. That's not a statement. That's capitalism. She ignored me. Mom cries every night now. Mom cried last month when her oat milk expired. I said. Respectfully, she's not a great barometer. Brooke's jaw clenched. You're ruining this for everyone. I stood up, slow, calm. No. I'm showing up to something I wasn't invited to. Big difference. You were excluded for a reason. That cut the air like glass. Even Dad peeked out from behind his Sudoku book like a meerkat sensing predators. Mom paused mid-sip. Riley, once again, radiated spectator energy. Brooke's voice dropped. You always judge us. Every trip, every splurge, every post. We just wanted a week without the lecture. So instead, you staged a family vacation and left me out like a group project you didn't want to ruin your grade? Her face flushed. You're making this bigger than it is. No, I said. I'm seeing it for what it actually is. There it was, not yelling, not sarcasm, clarity. The kind that doesn't beg. It just lands. Brooke faltered. You used to let this stuff go. I used to think it would change. Her arms dropped. She wasn't furious anymore, just tired. You've always made me feel small, I added. Like I was the difficult one. The reminder that not everyone gets to coast through life without checking their balance. She didn't deny it. Instead, she whispered, You're bitter. No, I said. I'm just done being quiet about it. Silence. Not dramatic, real. Like the kind that comes after someone tells the truth, and no one claps because it wasn't meant to entertain. Brooke turned away. No comeback. No final shot. She just walked off, barefoot, stiff, rattled. I sat back down. Picked up the fake book again. Riley passed by with her drink and whispered, Iconic. Later that night, I returned to my room and found a note slipped under the door, resort stationery, my mother's handwriting. It read, Maybe we read your silence as strength. Or maybe it was easier than asking what you actually needed. We didn't try. That part's on us. No apology. Just acknowledgement. Just enough to sting. I folded it neatly and placed it under a coaster. Not out of cruelty, just clarity. Closure doesn't always knock. Sometimes you build the door, open it, and walk out without slamming it. Day 6 smelled like sunscreen and faded resentment, which, honestly, is what most family gatherings smell like if you wait long enough. But this one was different. I woke up late for once. No revenge agenda, no spy routine. Just me, an over-air-conditioned suite, and a clear sense of calm. I made coffee, stood barefoot on the balcony, and realized something wild. I wasn't mad anymore. I wasn't even plotting. I was just here. For breakfast I ordered in. No buffet, no crossed paths. Just crispy bacon, fresh mango, and silence, which, after 6 days of resort chaos, was its own 5-star experience. That afternoon, I booked the one thing I'd avoided all week, a second solo sunset dinner on the private pier. No audience, no theatrics. Just a quiet meal with an ocean view and no one to perform for. I wore my backup linen shirt, the one without the mango stain, and walked out to the pier like it was a runway. String lights glowed. The ocean lapped gently beneath. A violinist played a soulful rendition of Clocks by Coldplay that somehow didn't feel cheesy. The waiter poured my wine. I toasted the sky. And then I saw them. My family. At the beachfront grill about 30 feet away. Sitting on plastic chairs. Paper plates. Burgers. No Coldplay. Mom sipped something pink and looked like she hadn't slept. Dad stared into the horizon like it owed him an apology. Brooke had her back to me. Until she didn't. She turned. Our eyes locked. There was no rage left, just exhaustion. From both of us. So I did the unthinkable. I waved. Not smugly. Not with a smirk. Just a small, civil nod. A peace offering. Or a ceasefire. Brooke froze. Then, slowly, she stood up. Walked toward the pier. My heart kicked a bit. She reached the start of the wooden walkway, just outside the candlelit boundary, and called out softly. This is the most annoying thing you've ever done. I lifted my glass. Thanks. I work hard. She rolled her eyes, then smiled. Just a little. You look ridiculous. And yet, elegant. She sighed, brushing her hair back. So, what now? You got your show. Your revenge. Do you feel better? I thought for a second. Then, I didn't come here to win anything. I came because I was tired of being treated like a side character in my own family. She looked down. I get that, she said. You're not wrong. I guess I assumed you didn't care. You assumed wrong. Silence. Then she said something I didn't expect. You want to come back to the table? I looked at her. Then back at the pier, the glowing string lights, the chilled wine, the steak that was probably medium rare perfection. And I shook my head. No, I said gently. But thanks for asking. Brooke didn't argue. She just nodded. Then turned and walked away. No flare. No parting shot. Just acceptance. And me? I sat back down. Picked up my fork. Took the best bite of the trip. Later, I wandered the beach barefoot. Let the water lap over my ankles. Watched a toddler throw sand like confetti and laughed quietly to myself. Back in the room, I texted Riley. Me. She invited me to join their table. I said no. Riley. You said it dramatically, right? Me. With a lime wedge. Dignity intact. Riley. Chef's kiss. I slept that night like someone who wasn't angry anymore. Not because I got closure, but because I finally didn't need it. Checkout day. The air was tropical perfection. Birds chirping. Breeze just right. The kind of morning that whispers, nothing dramatic will happen unless you start it. I stood at the Solmer Bay front desk in my best model guest mode, luggage in hand, shades on, linen shirt crisp, sipping the last of my overpriced resort coffee like a man with no regrets. The concierge handed me a slim envelope. Your final invoice, Mr. Carter, she said, and a gift from the kitchen staff. Inside, a paper bag of cookies and a handwritten note. You've been our favorite guest this week. Not just for the tipping. The Solmer team. Cue the almost tears. Almost. As I wheeled my suitcase toward the exit, I saw them. The family. All of them. Slumped on a lobby couch like sunburnt sitcom extras waiting for their final scene. Brooke had a neck pillow wrapped around her head like a donut of regret. Mom was nursing a takeaway iced latte like it owed her closure. Dad looked at me like I was an unpaid credit card bill. They clocked me immediately. So I smiled. Nodded. And with a voice smoother than my resort tabs said, Safe travels. Brooke scowled like I'd robbed her of one last argument. Mom blinked like she was debating whether to hug me or throw her latte. No one said anything. And that was the win. Because sometimes power looks like walking away without fanfare, without needing a mic drop. Just peace. Poised. Rolling Samsonite wheels. The shuttle driver helped load my bag and climbed in. I leaned over and handed him a small resort postcard I'd written the night before. One line. Block letters. No signature. Turns out I don't complain about the cost, when I'm not footing the bill for people who forget I exist. Can you drop this in the resort mailbox? I asked. He read it. Grinned. Savage, he said. You on TikTok? Worse, I replied. Family group chat. The shuttle pulled away. I didn't look back. At the airport, I posted a single photo to Instagram, me at the solo dinner table from night 6, drink in hand, eyes half laughing, half done. Caption. Best family vacation ever. May 5th. Would ghost again. Riley liked it first. Then my coworker Jess. Then Mom. Under her burner account. Probably thought it was Pinterest. I turned my phone off before the group chat could rise from the dead. Back home, I unpacked like a man returning from battle, slow, deliberate, proud. My sand-crusted flip-flops got tossed in the closet like trophies. The parrot print shirt? Hung up like war paint. My framed photo with Brooke? Placed on the shelf like a passive-aggressive achievement award. Bruno, my dog, my confidant, my emotional support mutt, sniffed my suitcase once, looked at me like, you reek of drama and pina coladas, and flopped onto my lap. I gave him a cookie from the resort bag. He deserved it. So did I. Later that week, Riley texted again. Riley. Brooke's telling everyone it was all a joke and you ruined it by being sensitive. Me. Classic. Riley. Also, she accidentally tagged you in her vacation photo dump. Me. Accidentally? Riley. Sure, January. And there I was, in the background of every pic. Lounging by the pool. Laughing near the breakfast bar. Standing alone on the pier like a plot twist no one saw coming. They tried to crop me out. Rewrite the narrative. But here's the thing. They can control the story. But I made sure they'll never forget I was in it. Undeniable. Even when uninvited.